Imagine believing something for years, curious, something you've heard from friends, family, even people online, only to find out that it was quietly putting your health at risk the entire time. Size. A few years ago, one of my patients walked into my office after avoiding a diabetes test for nearly 3 years. Not because he didn't care, not because he didn't have access to health care, but because he believed one simple myth. He kept telling himself, "I'm fine. That could never happen to me." When we finally checked his blood sugar, it wasn't just a little high. It was high enough that early damage to his kidneys had already begun. Concerned. The hardest part? He wasn't irresponsible. He wasn't uneducated. He simply believed something that millions of people still believe today. And that's exactly why I decided to make this video. Because diabetes isn't just one of the most common diseases in the world. It's also one of the most misunderstood. Every single day, myths about diabetes spread through social media, family conversations, and outdated advice that's been repeated for decades. Some of these myths sound completely believable, some even sound logical, but believing the wrong one can delay testing, delay treatment, and sometimes delay the chance to prevent serious complications. Today we're going to uncover the 5 biggest diabetes myths that millions of people still believe. And I want you to do something while you're watching. Keep a mental score. Count how many of these myths you've believed yourself. Most people are surprised to discover it's more than one. And trust me, myth number 3 is the one that worries me the most. It's also the one that silently affects millions of people who think they're perfectly healthy. So let's separate fact from fiction and start with the biggest myth of them all. Myth number 1. Eating too much sugar directly causes diabetes. Let's start with the biggest myth of them all. Eating too much sugar causes diabetes. At first, it sounds like common sense. The more sugar you eat, the higher your blood sugar becomes. So naturally, many people assume that sugar alone is the reason diabetes develops. But the truth is much more complicated than that. Type 2 diabetes doesn't appear overnight. It develops slowly over many years. It's usually the result of several factors working together: your genetics, your lifestyle, your activity level, your age, and something called insulin resistance. Think of insulin as a key. Its job is to unlock your body's cells so glucose can enter and be used for energy. But over time, those cells can stop responding properly. The key is still there, but the lock becomes harder to open. Your pancreas tries to solve the problem by producing more insulin. For a while, it works. But eventually, the pancreas can't keep up anymore. That's when blood sugar begins to rise. So where does sugar fit into all of this? Eating large amounts of sugary foods can contribute to weight gain. And excess body fat, especially around the abdomen, can increase insulin resistance. But sugar itself is not the direct cause of diabetes. If it were, everyone who enjoys dessert would eventually become diabetic. And that's simply not what we see. There's another important point many people don't realize. Type 1 diabetes is completely different. It's an autoimmune disease. The body's own immune system attacks the cells that produce insulin. It has nothing to do with eating sugar, nothing to do with eating too many desserts, and nothing to do with personal choices. Unfortunately, this myth gives many people a false sense of security. I've met people who proudly tell me, "Doctor, I hardly ever eat sweets, so I know I don't have diabetes." I always tell them the same thing. Your pancreas doesn't count how many cookies you've eaten. It responds to your overall health, your metabolism, your family history, and many other factors. The bottom line is simple. Reducing added sugar is a smart choice for your overall health, but believing that avoiding sugar alone protects you from diabetes can be a dangerous mistake. Myth number 2. Only overweight people get diabetes. Now let's talk about another myth that quietly fools millions of people every year. Only overweight people get diabetes. This one is especially dangerous because it convinces healthy-looking people that they have nothing to worry about. Yes, being overweight is one of the biggest risk factors for type 2 diabetes. There's no denying that. But it is not the only risk factor. I've seen patients who looked fit, who exercised regularly, who wore small clothing sizes, and still had diabetes. At the same time, I've treated overweight patients whose blood sugar was completely normal. How is that possible? Because diabetes isn't determined by appearance. It's determined by what's happening inside your body. Some people carry excess fat around their internal organs, even if they look slim on the outside. This hidden fat is known as visceral fat. Unlike the fat you can pinch under your skin, visceral fat surrounds the liver, the pancreas, and other important organs, and it's strongly linked to insulin resistance. Researchers even have a nickname for this condition: TOFI, thin outside, fat inside. It may sound surprising, but it's real. Your body weight is only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Your family history matters, your age matters, your ethnicity matters. Poor sleep, chronic stress, certain medications, and even hormonal conditions can all increase your risk. That's why doctors don't diagnose diabetes by looking at someone. We diagnose it with blood tests. So if you've ever looked in the mirror and thought, "I'm not overweight, so I'm probably fine," don't let your reflection make medical decisions for you, because the next myth is even more dangerous. Millions of people believe it every single day, and it's the reason diabetes often goes undetected for years. Myth number 3. If you don't feel sick, you don't have diabetes. This is the myth that worries me the most. Not because it's the most common, but because it's the most dangerous. Many people believe that if they don't feel sick, they must be healthy. It makes sense, doesn't it? If your body isn't hurting, if you have enough energy to get through the day, if you're still going to work, taking care of your family, and living your normal life, why would you think anything is wrong? The problem is, diabetes doesn't always make a dramatic entrance. In fact, type 2 diabetes often develops so slowly that many people don't notice it at all. Blood sugar can remain higher than normal for years without causing obvious symptoms, and during that time, damage may already be happening inside the body. That's what makes diabetes so dangerous. It's often called the silent disease for a reason. You don't always feel the damage as it's happening. High blood sugar can slowly affect your blood vessels, your nerves, your kidneys, your eyes, and even your heart. Not overnight, but little by little, month after month, year after year. By the time symptoms become impossible to ignore, the disease may have already been there for a long time. That's why relying on how you feel can give you a false sense of security. I've had patients tell me, "Doctor, I felt completely fine." And they were telling the truth. They weren't pretending. They genuinely had no idea anything was wrong. Then a routine blood test revealed blood sugar levels high enough to diagnose diabetes immediately. Some even discovered it by accident, during a yearly physical, before surgery, or while getting tested for something completely unrelated. Others weren't as fortunate. Their first warning sign wasn't thirst, or fatigue, or frequent urination. It was blurry vision, a slow healing wound, numbness in their feet, or even a heart attack. Those are moments no one wants to experience, especially when early testing could have changed the outcome. That's why I encourage adults, especially if you're over 45, have a family history of diabetes, carry extra weight, or have high blood pressure, to talk with your healthcare provider about whether it's time for a blood sugar screening. A simple blood test can provide answers long before serious problems develop. Remember, feeling healthy and being healthy are not always the same thing. Your body doesn't always send loud warning signals. Sometimes, the only way to know what's happening is to look at the numbers. And that's exactly why regular checkups matter. Because catching diabetes early can make a tremendous difference in how it's managed over the years. Now, once someone is diagnosed, another myth immediately starts causing fear. It's a myth that makes people believe they'll never be able to enjoy their favorite foods again. Let's talk about myth number 4. People with diabetes can never eat carbs or sugar again. This is one of the saddest myths I hear, because it fills people with fear before they even understand what diabetes really is. I've had patients walk into my office and say, "Doctor, Does this mean I can never eat bread again? Or, will I have to give up fruit forever? The answer is no. Having diabetes doesn't mean you have to eliminate every carbohydrate from your diet. In fact, your body still needs carbohydrates. The difference is learning which carbohydrates to choose, how much to eat, and how to balance them with protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Think about it this way. Eating a large slice of cake by itself is very different from eating a balanced meal that includes vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats, and a moderate portion of whole grains. It's not just what you eat, it's also how much, how often, and what you eat with it. That's why diabetes management isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. Many people with diabetes still enjoy fruit. They still eat rice. They still eat potatoes. They still celebrate birthdays. The key is learning how those foods fit into an overall healthy eating plan. And that's something your healthcare provider or a registered dietitian can help you personalize. Unfortunately, this myth creates unnecessary guilt. Some people become so afraid of food that eating stops being enjoyable. Every meal becomes stressful. Every bite feels like a mistake. But diabetes management shouldn't be driven by fear. It should be guided by knowledge. The goal isn't to eliminate every food you love. The goal is to build habits you can realistically maintain for years. Because the healthiest diet is the one you can actually stick with. Myth number 5. Diabetes is always reversible with enough willpower. Now let's talk about one of the most misunderstood messages on the internet. You've probably seen headlines like, "Reverse your diabetes naturally," or "Throw away your medication forever." Those headlines sound exciting, but they don't tell the whole story. Here's the truth. Some people with type 2 diabetes are able to achieve remission. That means their blood sugar returns to a healthy range without diabetes medication for a period of time. And that's wonderful when it happens. But remission is not the same as a permanent cure. It also doesn't happen for everyone. Whether someone achieves remission depends on many different factors. How early the condition was diagnosed, how much insulin-producing function the pancreas still has, their genetics, their overall health, and how their body responds to lifestyle changes. For some people, losing weight, becoming more active, and improving their eating habits can make a remarkable difference. For others, those same healthy changes are still incredibly important, but medication remains an essential part of treatment. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Needing medication doesn't mean you've failed. It doesn't mean you didn't try hard enough. It simply means your body needs additional support. And that's exactly what modern medicine is designed to provide. One of the biggest mistakes we can make is judging someone else's diabetes journey. Every person's body is different. Every diagnosis is different, and every treatment plan should be individualized. The real goal isn't proving that you can manage diabetes without medication. The real goal is protecting your eyes, your kidneys, your heart, your nerves, and your quality of life for as many years as possible. If medication helps achieve that, then it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and there's absolutely no shame in that. Here's what I hope you take away from today's video. Don't make health decisions based on myths, social media posts, or something you heard years ago. Make decisions based on reliable information, regular checkups, and conversations with qualified healthcare professionals. Because when it comes to diabetes, the earlier you know, the more you can do. And that knowledge can make an enormous difference over the years. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 5 myths surprised you the most? Or was there one you've believed yourself? Leave a comment below. I read as many of them as I can, and I'd love to know your thoughts. If you found this video helpful, please take a second to like it. It really helps the channel reach more people who may need this information. And if you're interested in simple, evidence-based health advice designed to help you stay healthier as you get older, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because in the next video, we're going to explain what your blood sugar numbers actually mean, including what's considered normal, what's considered prediabetes, and when you should start paying attention. You won't want to miss that one. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.